Misinformation online is inevitable. Let's face it, admissions officers are pretty disingenuous, and as a high schooler trying to figure out what's going on online, it can be so frustrating to try to discern between the good and the bad. If you're new here, my name is Pratik. I'm on janitor duty today to try to clean up some of the bullshit surrounding college admissions online. I'm here to keep it as real as possible. Let's get into it. The first myth we have to bust when it comes to this college admissions scene is that you don't have to show colleges who you as a person genuinely are. There are so many different aspects of our lives that make up the people that we grow into being. But when it comes to college admissions, this entire process is simply an exercise in marketing. Think about it for a second. When you're submitting your college application, who are you actually submitting it to? It's not the college. It's a specific admissions officer. Do you know their name, their background, their family? You don't know anything about them. It's an anonymous person. Sure, you could maybe go into your admissions portal one day and figure out who it is, but does it really matter? At the end of the day, your college application is not a place to show your authentic, true, genuine self, to express your emotions. It's just a way to try to market yourself to an unnamed, faceless university who's going to decide whether yes or no they want you. With that being said, there is an idealized character that you want to be portraying to colleges, right? Someone who volunteers in your community, someone who's extremely talented academically. If you're interested in STEM or literature or humanities, whatever it is, you need to be able to show that you're extremely prolific in that field, why you'll go on to succeed, and why you're the best at it. Harvard is not looking for some average student with a bunch of mixed bag interests. They're looking at someone who has a direction for their future, has proven a good track record that they are really good at what they're doing, and that if they accept them, they'll go on to do something fantastic in the future. You need to create that kind of character, but at the same time, also somehow show that you're a legitimate human being, right? You have these mistakes and faults, and you're real, but they're all in a very perfect way. If you have an actual legitimate issue, that's not something you need to feel forced to put on your college application. Now, when I say issue, I'm not talking about some kind of legitimate family problem or a disability you have that impacted your learning. If that's the case, definitely put that on in like the additional information section. I'm talking about things that like me and you do as like just for fun, right? Maybe you skip class on the regular, or you stay up till like 3 a.m. playing video games. I don't care what you do. Honestly, as long as you get your college app in place, I'm only here to guide you on the right path. But if you're doing these things, don't put them on your college application, right?
No, but that's obvious, right? If I'm cheating on every exam, I'm not going to tell Harvard admissions officers in my essay that I'm going to do that.
But what's a more practical use case for this information? Let's think about college admissions from a very pragmatic standpoint. Who are you competing against? Realistically, right? You're competing against people who look like you, who happen to also be from the same geographic area, and are also applying to the same, majors, schools, programs, whatever it may be. You need to try your best to stand apart from these people. Now, I come from an Asian background, obviously. Look at me, bro. So on my college application, that's what it says. I need to at least try to not play into these admissions officer stereotypes.
Now, why, Pratik? Why do you say that? That's a little bit controversial, right? You're telling me to suppress your culture.
Look, think about it realistically. Realistically, okay? Best case scenario, you bring out your full extent of your Asian personality in your essay, from people used to bully me in school for having the smelly lunch story, all the way to the I do robotics every day after school. You submit that to colleges. That's who you are, right? That's something that's very important to you. That's a big part of your culture and who you've grown into being. Instant reject. Why? Because 1,000 other kids have the same story. Even if those things were very important to who you are, and you want to advocate for those things, outside of school, and the fact that college admissions is biased, yes, we all support you. But college admissions is an exercise in marketing. When you're applying to a job, you're not going to specifically tell the interviewer that you suck at this one thing that is not really relevant to the job, but it's not going to land you the actual position, right? You need to think super practically about these things and position yourself in the right way. A lot of times, it doesn't even take much extra. You don't have to change all the activities that you're doing fundamentally. You just need to change the way that you show it to other people. This is why having like a college admissions officer and stuff can be so valuable at times, or just having another set of eyes on your application, whether that be another friend, maybe not your parents in this case, because they're going to reflect some similar beliefs to you, but someone to just guide you in the right direction and tell you that, things are going well and you're not coming off like that. The next, honestly kind of fun myth that we get to break down here is this idea that colleges can see through your application. I always start laughing when I hear admissions officers talking about this.
Oh, we can tell when an essay is written by a 50-year-old male versus, a 17-year-old girl who's still in high school.
This is just not really true, and there's so many different issues that come into here. First of all, if this was 100% true, and college admissions counselors who literally charge upwards of $10,000 to review your college essays could actually get caught lacking like this, bro, they would be out of business like that. The thing is, these essays are still being written by high school students. If you go to a college admissions consultant, if you come to me and ask me to help you, with your process, you're still writing the essay. But someone else who's on the outside giving you feedback, kind of nudging you in the right direction, helping you vet your ideas, or even someone who gives you kind of the seeds for a novel idea. There's no real way to tell, and this almost brings us to a little bit more controversial topic, right? College admissions officers also like to say that if you're faking an activity and you fake your hours, they'll know. I'll give you one example right now. I don't think anyone's really buying into this, but we'll just clean it up. Yo, if you do a volunteering exercise or some kind of activity for 100 hours, and we have one student who does it for 100 hours and writes 100 hours on their application. We have a second student who does the exact same activity for 100 hours and writes 120. How will you know? How will you know? The answer is that you won't. Now, I'm not saying any of these things to tell you to go pay for a college admissions counselor or to lie in your application. Definitely don't do those things because there are actual negative consequences, right? If you get audited and your whole future gets ruined over this, it's wraps, right? It's just not worth the reward. But from a very practical standpoint, you also need to understand that there is a learning lesson to come out of all of this. It's the fact that when you do these activities, it's so easy to just get caught up in the numbers. I've done this number of volunteering hours, or I'm working on this number of activities. In the end, it doesn't really matter that much. Focus on having meaningful experiences or experiences that you learn something from. That is the most important part of all of this. Numbers can be extremely deceiving. For instance, I used to do Boy Scouts back in high school. If you start calculating the number of hours that I spent, it's a ridiculous number. The reason for that is because I used to go to these campouts, especially during the summertime. We'd have a 1-week campout. Start doing the math, right? 24 hours a day, technically, because you're on the campout for 6 days. I've done this for 5 years in a row. That's over 700 hours spent in Boy Scouts. You add everything else, over 1,000 hours. And if we consider this a community service activity, and I just keep it very vague, over 1,000 hours spent through the Boy Scouts of America helping people. It's just not fair. It's not an apples to apples comparison. So from an admissions officer's perspective, make life easy for them, right? Glean these really, really meaningful, true and authentic stories from your experiences. Show them that you actually cared about your activities. That's your way of standing out over other students. It's not to just tell them that you have 2,000 hours. They don't really care like that. The next point I have is a really, really good one. I feel it's honestly, you probably haven't even heard of it. It's authentic enough to be its own video, but I'm gonna put you on right here, okay? A lot of people like to say, if you don't get into your dream school, if you don't get into any of your top schools, for instance, let's say you only get into one safety school, all of your dream schools are gone. The journey wasn't worth it. I'm telling you right now, straight cap. Here's the thing about college admissions. It can feel extremely disheartening to get rejected from your dream school because you've been working on this for so long. It's such a big part of your youth and you feel so conditioned by, the society. I hate to be one of those self-improvement YouTubers who's preaching how society manipulates you. It's so corny, but it's true, right? It is true. You've heard of these schools from a young age. To get rejected by them feels like they're rejecting who you are. But if college admissions is done right, I'm gonna be the one guy on the internet who says it. There is a bright side to this. The skills that you develop as part of this journey are the most important part, not the school. I was having this conversation with a friend in college and we got really, really into kind of debating about this. And it's the fact that Because the college admissions process is there, it forces us to do a lot more in high school than we would have done if this wasn't there. Let's face it, all of us would just be chilling after school, maybe playing some sports, playing some video games, just vibing if it wasn't for this college admissions kind of on our ass, like telling us, yo, you gotta get going, you gotta do all these different things. Now, as part of this process, you'll go on to do some incredible work, right? You might publish papers, contribute meaningful research, get really into starting a nonprofit and a business and become extremely successful there. All of these skills will continue to help you in life. When you go to college, that's when you have this epiphany that all the work that you did like in high school, suddenly once the college admissions set that all aside, the amount that you learn from it and what that sets you up to do later in life, that's what's the most valuable part. College is only 4 years. You're gonna live another 70 after college. What are you gonna do then? This work, everything that you did in high school, that's what's going to determine what you do then. Say, for instance, Harvard just deleted their freshman class of 2027 or whatever, and they selected the next 2,000 kids to join. I don't think a single thing would change in the quality of that class, what they go on to do, the impact they have on Harvard, because the quality of the applicants is at that level. It has gotten so good, so competitive. There's no real shot that Harvard is able to discern these kids at the top level. They're all gonna go on to do great things. You are going to go on to do great things. The honest truth, okay? No marketing, putting everything aside. College admissions does not really matter, like at all. College admission should be the byproduct of the good quality work and skills that you're building in high school, because those skills will go on to benefit you in life, and college admissions just at the top level is somewhat of a reward for the work that you're putting in. But by no means does it define who you are, your character, your talent. All of that is determined by you and only you. If you made it this far into the video and you've been paying attention, I have something special for you, all right? This is your reward for coming this far. So I always liked like these like little small tips in high school that just like really changed the way I kind of look at college admissions. So I'm about to give you one right now. Let's just call this our fourth myth that we're gonna break, okay? The myth is just going to be colleges only see what's on your application. Not really true, right? They're gonna get a lot of information, obviously 99% of it from your application, but there's some things that go on behind the scenes that we just need to talk about. The main point here is something called demonstrated interest. This is basically your way of externally showing colleges how much you care about them, how interested you are. Now, certain colleges keep track of this and certain colleges don't. So how can you functionally show demonstrated interest, right? Demonstrated interest is shown by showing up to these informational Q&A sessions, for instance. When you get those spam emails from colleges that College Board like always sends out, you're clicking on them, opening some links, you're letting them send you more, you're maybe emailing your admissions officer some questions you had and showing that you actually care about the school. All of this for schools who genuinely care about demonstrated interest is going to be saved somewhere in your admissions file. And so when they go to review your final application, they're going to see how much did you engage in the school, how much did you care. You can find whether a school cares about demonstrated interest or not by just Googling it online, okay? Watch some YouTube video or just literally look up what schools do it. You'll find a full list of how much schools actually care about this. Some schools that were just off the top of my head applicable to me were like Case Western University and George Washington University. Both of them have like the really strong BSMD medical programs. So if you're interested in applying, keep in mind these schools look at demonstrated interest. Look into it. See if this is something that you want to do. Don't go overboard with it, right? Don't spend 10, 20, 30 hours trying to show colleges how much you care about them if you have like, a 1200 SAT and you think it's going to compensate for that. But if you know that the school cares about it, by all means, like open one of the webinars in the background and just do your homework while it's running, maybe ask a question or two, call it good, right? Do the bare minimum to get the check mark, keep it moving. My janitor shift looks like it's over, right? I've cleaned up the internet a little bit more. If you want me to break down more college admissions myths, I got you. Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Pratik. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.